Oh, are you the new IT guy? A strange man says as he pokes his head into my office. I've been here 8 months, but yes. We make our introductions and he pulls out his laptop. Can I show you a process I have to do, and you tell me if there's a better way to do it? Sure. Okay, so I pull up the ERP, and I run this series of commands. It gives me this output. Then I copy it into Excel. Then I have to get it to work with Excel, then go through and break it out by branch, salesman, vendor, and part. Unfortunately, this is the only way I can get the outside parts guys their commissions. I have to do it every month, and it takes me at least 8 hours to do. Do you not know about reports.dollartruck.com? Cause I should be able to automate this almost completely. A look of existential horror and depression washes over him and begins muttering 5 years to himself. Now, the ERP we were using in the 2020s was set up in the late 80s, so it was a green-on-black www.reddit.com web link. The data he was getting was raw text he had to get to fit into Excel and with no way in the program to change the data's organization from chronological. And in the 5 years he had been with the company as the head of the outside parts sales staff, no one had told him about the reporting subdomain where I could get his finished report made automatically as often as he wanted in any file format he chose. We call the ERP vendor and walk their reporting expert through the process. She does the needful, he sees the finished product, asks for a few tweaks, and then he walks away as happy as a clam that just learned what an atom is. Short story here. Years and years ago, a client wanted to dump their dedicated fax line and go with an e-fax solution for a few reasons. One of those reasons was that they did the math and figured it would be cheaper to do so long term. At the time, I was not involved beyond supporting the solution after it was implemented. Roughly 5 years after the fact and being more tenured, the client asks if I would be willing to sit down with accounting to review some discrepancies with vendor payments. Turns out, they forgot to cancel the fax line. So for about 5 years, they were paying for the e-fax service and for a dedicated fax line that was no longer used. They launched a wider audit and found they were paying for a handful of services they had long stopped using. Aside from finally canceling those services, nothing more came of it since there was some turnover of client staff that the client higher-ups blamed for those dropped balls. Hey, the chain-smoking shaved bear who runs the warehouse calls as I walk by. My computer is slow. Can you take a look if you've got the time? I sit down at his workstation and pull up Task Manager while he does something else. I see the uptime is 3 digits. Okay, I tell him as he comes over, I'll let you save your work, but you probably just need to restart your computer. You should do it every week, at least, but daily is probably better. Shit, the shaved bear says the last guys told us not to. Oh, hold on. That may be one of the least insane things about this company, www.reddit.com web link, so I believe him. He grabs his second in command and the service floor manager and asks me to show them how, just in case. I narrate clicking the start button, show them the power option, and repeat what I told the shaved bear. Hey! The shaved bear barks at the service floor manager who has gotten distracted by something shiny in the ceiling. This is fucking important, pay attention. Sorry WDT, go ahead. Just have it restart when you go home for the night and you should be good. I'll try to make this short, but it's so infuriating. The user calls up on an existing ticket that a colleague of mine had been working earlier in the day, but he had to stop working due to being sick. She says the vendor is on site and he's confirming that the postage meter can't call out and it has to be a firewall issue. I familiarize myself with the ticket and start digging in. Our documentation on the device says it's got a DHCP reservation ending in .166 and the device was set to static at some point in the past. I run a network scan and confirm that device is not connected to the network. Nothing is at that IP, nothing that's connected has that device's MAC. I ask the vendor to confirm the host name, IP, and MAC on the device to make sure I'm looking for the right one. He gives me a different host name, different IP, and different MAC. Me, so this is a new postage meter, right? Vendor, nope, same one as always, it just stopped working and I think your firewall is blocking it. Not sure what you guys changed recently, but whatever it was, it's blocking the meter from calling out. I tell the vendor that the MAC address that we have in our documentation, that we've had for a year, and that we confirmed with an IP scan on the server yesterday, is different than the one he just read off. I also remind him that MAC addresses don't change. Vendor: well, maybe it didn't get a static, you know? So maybe DHCP changed it. Me: DHCP doesn't change MAC addresses. That's an address that's burned into the NIC on the device. The only way to change a MAC address is to swap out the NIC. I don't believe you did that, so I'm left to assume this is a new device. The firewall policy was set up for the previous device's MAC and IP. That's why it's not working now. Vendor: why would I swap out the device, though? It's a perfectly good device. It's only a year old. Me: sir, did you go on site with a new device? Vendor: well, I brought one with me, but I didn't have to use it because this one works. Me: can you take that one out of the box and let me know if the MAC on it reads off old one's MAC address /? Vendor: well, yeah. How'd you know that? It's not even plugged in. I wanted to put my face through the phone and bite his nose off. I used to live downstairs from an older fella who I'll call Mr. Jones, who was reasonably tech-savvy, but definitely in the category of knows enough to cause himself a lot of problems. When I moved into the flat, I didn't have an internet connection, so I was tethering from my phone. When I was setting up the connection, I did a Wi-Fi scan to see what was broadcasting in the area and to see if there were any phone hotspots, cheaper at the time than cellular data, and I found an unsecured internet connection called Jones Belkin router. This was well into the late 2000s, when even ISP-provided routers were configured with at least WEP. I was able to connect to the network and see that he had a PC and a laptop with shared folders wide open on each, and a printer. There was basically no security on this network, even the router password was just the default. I disconnected, connected to my phone to check my emails, and then logged off. About a week later, I was getting home from work, unlocking the front door, and I met Mr. Jones for the first time as he came out of his front door. He introduced himself, I introduced myself, and we had the usual new neighbor chat. I remembered the unsecured network and decided to ask him about it. Me: sorry, I have to ask, is the Jones Belkin router network yours? Only it's completely insecure. Mr. Jones: oh, yes, that is mine, but how did you know about it? Me: well, it's broadcasting its network name, and my laptop picked it up. It's wide open for anyone to connect to. Mr. Jones: but it's in my flat? How does it get into your flat? Me: I guess it can get through the walls? I can help you secure it if you like. That began an arrangement with Mr. Jones where I'd occasionally help him out with his computers. Job number 1 was to encrypt the Wi-Fi network, and tighten up his network settings on his computers. Within a couple of hours I had everything as secure as a home network needed to be. Over the couple of years that I lived there, I helped him out a few more times with bits and pieces, including a borked Windows 7 upgrade and the occasional unpicking of clusterfucks of his own making. He always paid me for my time, and he'd occasionally bring down the odd bottle of wine or some beers.